I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in the performance that Zach Wilson and the Jets passing game put on today. I don't know where you want to start. My big picture thought here is that eventually this needs to happen. Yeah, you have a playoff caliber defense. You have spent on this team. I know the offensive line is banged up, and I know the offensive line isn't very good. But this was not just a protection issue today. This was him just playing pretty miserable football. And then the way they handled it afterwards, I thought was fairly concerning. You know, him being asked if he felt like he let the defense down. He said, no. Some of the stuff that Garrett Wilson said after the game, I mean, just some of the quotes. I mean, let me try to pull some of them up. I mean, just
they were harsh.
Give me a second here. Yeah.
They were very harsh.
I mean, I think one of the things he said was like this shit isn't acceptable, or something in that range, something along the lines of, I hope this people in the building wake up a little bit after watching this game. Believe Connor Hughes reported after the game that some of the guys in the locker room didn't appreciate the way that Zach Wilson was handling himself after the game.
No remorse.
This is bad. Like that is the bad stuff. When that stuff starts to turn, I think that's when you get a little bit worried. And I can understand guys in that locker room when their defense is playing as well as they are, when they're winning some games, and you watch the way he played. Guys in the locker room know.
Yeah.
And if he's not, they know. If a guy's got it or a guy doesn't have it, they typically know it. And after watching that game today, I can understand them being concerned that this guy he ain't got it.
Yeah. I was remembering the preseason clips that were coming out because they're showing off Garrett Wilson, like the Jets, you know, during training camp, there's always the practice clip in slow-mo that the team puts out, you know, like the cool catch or like the long ball and super zoomed up. And every one of Garrett Wilson, he was catching some throw behind him. Like that's why it was a highlight catch, was because he had to reach back and catch it. And I was like, that's why those are highlights. It's because the ball was off. But we say this Shanahan type offense that like Mike LaFleur runs it's training wheels. It's a training wheels offense for the quarterback. And I really think like Zach Wilson has bumpers when he's bowling and he's throwing the ball 2 lanes over like that. Like he has the bumpers in there, but he's not even throwing it on the lane. Like that is like just how ugly it looks. The second half, 15 dropbacks. He went 4 for 11, negative 21 net yards. He got sacked 4 times. The last drive before they punted it and lost the game, they just ran the ball. They were just like, screw this. He almost threw a pick. And they're like, no, we're not doing that again. Run the ball. We do not trust this guy. And this is when we talked about it on Thursday. I was trying to really, talk about Zach Wilson in more of a critical sense, in the sense of how he could get better and what are the true kind of like, as if I were coaching him as a quarterback or as a quarterback coach, and his feet are just so all over the place. Remember when I kind of really early on this podcast, I went in on Drew Lock, and I was like, early and laughing about him and saying, I made a joke that Drew Lock would tell, you can tell Drew Lock calls a play and he only knows one route on it. When you call a play, you tag routes and you tag concepts. So you say like X dig, X fade, something of that sort. That's how Zach Wilson kind of plays. It feels like he knows one route on the play. And once that does not come open, he's like, oh my God. And his feet get all over the place. This was the Patriots dropped 8 a ton. 20% of the dropbacks were drop 8. They only rushed 3. They blitzed barely any times. I want to say 2 or 3 times the entire game. They
brought him pressures, but they only were bringing 4.
Yes.
So that was the thing, is that they were bringing guys from untraditional spots and making them sort things out. And they were struggling to do that, but they weren't bringing a lot of big blitzes in this game.
No. And this is the throw that McCourty dropped at the dig that Wilson sailed over the middle of the field. That was kind of exactly what I mean when I say Zach Wilson has kind of happy feet and he's off time and he only knows one route. That was a perfect example. He's hanging in the pocket, which is like, okay, good. You're not looking to scramble, because he always kind of looks to scramble. Okay, good.
Or runs out of the back of the pocket.
Yep. And then all of a sudden he sees, he's hoping a route comes across his face. And then here comes the dig. And because he is off time, because he doesn't know the timing of the play, he's not truly progressing on that play. His feet are all wonky. And when your feet are wonky, the ball is going to spray. That's early career Josh Allen. Ask him. His feet were so wonky, so all over the place. I'm not saying like Zach Wilson's going to go on the Josh Allen path. Josh Allen also, reminder people, Josh Allen has 40 pounds on the guy, and and he's not worried about wind.
It's not even worth going down this road.
No,
it's a completely different thing that's happening right now.
Yes, but his feet were so wonky that the ball just sails like 5 yards over the dig route's head, and McCourty drops the ball. And it's just a domino effect that happens over and over and over. And the fact that he has no ownership on it, I'm sure they're frustrated because it's like, man, there are routes open for you and you're just not hitting them. And you're not doing the mental stuff that you need to do to be an NFL quarterback. You can't just go one and done. You just can't. It's impossible. It's impossible to play quarterback like that. And he hasn't done it. He just has not done it in his career yet.
He was 7 of 22 in this game, and it could have been worse. McCourty drops that interception.
Yep.
There was another semi-dropped interception on that last drive before they ultimately just handed the ball off. It could have been worse. I mean, we've reached a troubling place. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the stat I have for you. Since the year 2000, 105 quarterbacks have attempted at least 500 attempts in their first 20 games. Okay. Zach Wilson is 98th in EPA per dropback of those 105 quarterbacks. Would you like to hear the quarterbacks who are lower than Zach Wilson on that list?
I would love to. I love me some schlock.
Okay. Chris Wenke, Deshaun Kaiser, Blaine Gabbert, John Skelton, Kyle Wharton, Bruce Gradkowski, Josh Rosen. Kyle Wharton started as, and these are all guys, Skelton, Kyle Wharton, Bruce Gradkowski, late round picks that happen to be thrust into action, right? Like Kyle Wharton started as a rookie in 2004 because Rex Grossman got hurt. The guys at the top of this list that were higher picks than that, it's really just Josh Rosen and Blaine Gabbert. And we know what Josh Rosen and Blaine Gabbert ended up being as starters. Right. And the troubling thing about this is that there's no progress being made. This is as bad as it looks. And now we're 20 games into his career. And so that's what would really worry me. The fact that we're not taking steps forward here. And even if there were some glimpses early in the season, for the most part, he's right around where he's been for most of his career. And that is not a good sign, in my opinion.
No, this is the exact concerns I had, but I wrote up the quarterbacks in this offseason. I did an article for him on The Athletic. This was my concerns with him coming into the league. Is there is zero progression happening mechanically and mentally. And you have to get better. He
sailed 2 throws out of bounds. He overthrew Braxton Berrios on a check down, and then on a swing, he just airmailed one. And it's just like, man, that is tough. Those two, and then the dropped interception by McCourty, where it's just like mistakes that don't need to happen. Like you are not efficient enough to be nonchalant with the way that you're letting some of these balls go. And that's what it feels like right now. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can put some sauce on it every once in a while. Like you don't need to worry about that at this stage of the proceedings.
No, it's all trick shots. It's like he's shooting behind the back shots. Like that's all, like how he tries to play. And it's like his footwork is so wonky. That's why I'm like, also, I just want to like strangle every like quarterback coach, private quarterback coach that like, oh, we got to do the quick hip stuff. And it's like, how about you just work on normal drops and footwork and actually working on progressions? Like that's actually how quarterback play is. Everyone's worried about the hard stuff and doing all the extracurricular stuff. It's like, you got to work on the fundamentals. And that's the thing. His fundamentals have gotten worse. They weren't great coming in and they're getting worse. And that's just not good. That is just all the other guys I've seen growth. I mean, Mac Jones is something different, but Fields and Lawrence, you see the growth as far as what they're doing and how they're trying to progress and understanding what they're trying to accomplish. Wilson still, this was my concern with him last year and now still is this year. It still will be, I'm sure, is that he just mentally doesn't look ready. And he does not have the mental capacity at this point in time to play NFL quarterback. It's too much for him. It's too fast. And that's how it feels like when I watch him. That's why he does all the spin moves in the pocket. He's just like, oh, does this work? Does this work? Oh, shoot. That's why he bails out of the pocket, because he wants to see everything come open. It's just, it does not seem like he's mentally capable to play quarterback right now.
How often he is turning his back to the defense, trying to bail out of the back of the pocket
you can't do that.
You just don't see good quarterbacks do that. You just can't do that. And you just
Defenders
can't play
the way too good.
He needs to be better than this. Like that is just as simple as it gets. He needs to be better than this. And this is why. I'm sure people are going to listen to this and be like, well, you look at some stats like Justin Fields has been very bad. And even like this year when he's been running the ball better, their passing game didn't look good today. The timeline for where the Bears are and where the Jets are two very different things. And I think that's important to understand here. Trevor Lawrence, after his team made some investments, tried to get better this offseason, went and spent on Brandon Scherf, went to go get Christian Kirk. They're like, we want to be better on offense this year. Guess what? The Jags have been better on offense this year. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence is 8th in EPA per dropback this season. Even there have been some warts to his game, and he still has a way to go. he has been significantly better this year. There's progress being made. The Bears are rebuilding.
Yeah.
Bears tore this thing down.
Probably like 20 rookies.
Yes. The idea that Justin Fields is even surviving is a positive thing for the Bears. The Jets were a top 5 team this season in cash spending to go get players. They had all of these first round picks. I know the offensive line has been banged up, but their timeline is different than a team like Chicago's is. And you need to see some results from the quarterback faster, because a lot of other elements of what this team is, they're built to compete right now. That is a playoff caliber, borderline championship caliber defense. And you can't lose these games where you give up 3 points for the first 59 minutes and 30 seconds of the game when your quarterback is playing like this. This cannot continue in this way. And I think that that's why the Jets have to ask themselves some like very real questions about where this stands and where it's going.
Yeah. And just the lack of remorse after the game. Like that is just like, oh,
tough.
Have some self-awareness. And again, being an NFL quarterback is hard, not just playing and not just studying and not just working at it. It's being the face of the franchise and being it, sometimes taking, even if you don't think it's your fault, just taking it. That's part of being a quarterback and head coach. That's what you have to do in that role. It's sometimes it's not fair. Life is not fair, but that's why you get paid a lot of money. And that's why you get all the accolades. It's because you have to take all those warts and all those kicks in the teeth and get knocked down. And so that is just, it's just very, very, very disappointing. And honestly, and Seth Galina said this to me, is that like you see the Shanahan offense and we talk about, ooh, how is this quarterback if he weren't in the Shanahan offense? Ooh, the discussion on Tua, discussion on Jimmy G. I haven't seen a guy like this look this bad in that type of offense. Like usually the floor is like pretty high in this type of offense. The floor is so low with him, and that's scary. That's why it's so scary watching him play.
The last thing I wanted to mention here, I think part of the reason that his issues were kind of laid out in front of us in this game is that they could not run the ball at a 5% rushing success rate in this game. And if they're not going to be able to run the ball, they're not going to be able to move the ball if he's going to be playing like this. And I wanted to give some credit to the Patriots defensive players. I mean, Godshaw had some really nice moments in this game. Lawrence Guy just tossing people around. Dietrich Wise, the fact that the Patriots, I mean, Judon's obviously had an incredible season and we really like Kyle Duggar, but coming into the year, I did not have high hopes for the Patriots defense. Couldn't name a starting cornerback on that team. Obviously, I know like Jalen Mills is, but outside people in the general public, it's like, who is going to play corner for this team? They have a lot of guys who are good players, but not great players in the front seven. And they've been one of the best defenses in the league this year. And I understand that we should take that into account when we talk about and consider Zach Wilson's performance today. Absolutely. But if you're going to be a playoff team, these are the types of teams you have to play against. So I understand that it's still early, still relatively early, but when you look at that list of guys that his play is compared to, and these are guys that played 15 years ago when quarterback play and offensive efficiency wasn't what it is right now. So you hear that list, you think about where he is and who he's being compared to at this stage based on production, just the numbers and the facts. It is troubling. And I would not be feeling very good right now if I were a Jets fan.
I heard Bortles and Rosen, and then I was like, okay, that's kind of all I need to kind of know what group he is, like what arrow is getting pointed or what direction that arrow is getting pointed with him.